Hello everyone, I'm Monsignor Jamie and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bread, where I bring together life's most important ingredients, faith, family, friends, and of course, food. I'm here in my kitchen at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and we have a very special guest for you today, Troy Miller, the President and CEO of NRB TV.
Hi, I'm Troy Miller, President and CEO of the National Religious Broadcasters Association, and it is my pleasure to be here today in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, with Monsignor Jamie on Breaking Bread. I'm hoping to help Monsignor today in the kitchen, but I may get my hand slapped a couple times. Cooking at an early age became something that was really ingrained with me. I really did. I got to sit there and work with my grandmother. She made everything from scratch. Great time of bonding. So that carried on with me and my kids, and especially my daughter now. My daughter's really picked up cooking, and we love to be in the kitchen together.
How are you? I thought you were cutting out on me. How you doing?
Good to be with you today.
Now first I have to say welcome. When you come into my kitchen, you have to work, okay? You look like you're going to an office meeting or something.
Well, don't let this fool you.
Okay.
I like to be in the kitchen.
All right, well, I have an apron here. This is one of my new aprons. It has my tomato sauce on it. Did you buy a jar yet?
No, not yet.
Well, if you do well today, I'll give you one. So tell me, NRB Television, that's a big business.
Kind of like a Christian Worldview PBS. So we do a lot of documentaries and biographies, and we actually have a couple of cooking shows on there. So
really?
Maybe we'll get you on there someday. And we reach all across the country and around the world, and it's just a way for people to build their faith and have a programming that supports their faith.
It's so important to get the message out there, especially to our younger generation, because they're not coming to our churches, they're not coming to our houses of worship. We have to bring it to them, and I know social media today is very big.
Every teenager today, every young adult today, they're carrying a television with them. They have their phone, it's in their pocket. You look around, they're constantly on it. They consume more media today than ever in the history of mankind. And so, look, Christians ought to be the ones that are out there getting that message out, because there's a lot of despair, let's say that, in the world today. And that hope, the hope that Christ gives us, the hope that the church gives us, the hope of something that really matters in life is a message that changes people.
I think we have to focus on how to get our churches out to the people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you do. I mean, I do it through food. I mean, I do it through my cooking. I do it through my ministry. But you do it through the internet, and you do it through social media.
You're exactly right. Look, the NRB, the association, our members, we have over 1,500 members that are into television broadcasting, radio, podcasting, blogging, filmmaking, books, audiobooks, all of it. You name it. Any way that we communicate today, we have members out there communicating. And that's what we have to do. We have to saturate the culture today and go out to where people are, because they're not coming into where we are now. And we have to meet them with their real world problems that they're dealing with. And look, we have the answer.
You hit on something that I use all the time. It's not like years ago where you built the churches. You opened the door and they just flocked in. We built our schools and they were overcrowded. They just came. Now we have to go out and we have to bring them in one at a time, but we have to meet them where they're at. What you're doing is the way to do it. You can reach so many people. It's so important. I understand you were in the Navy.
Yep, that's right. I
how many
served 6 years in the Navy. I served as a gunner's mate missiles, and I served on the USS Bunker Hill.
I thought maybe you were one of the chefs on the ship. So, you know.
No, back then they didn't really let me near the kitchen on that. Those guys cook for bulk. They don't really cook for taste. They cook I say the Navy food was pretty good there, but I did spend 7 months in the Persian Gulf and defending our country, and so I'm very proud of our service and proud of all of our veterans out there who serve.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your Sicilian roots.
My grandmother was actually first generation Sicilian, so she was the first generation born here in America. Her mother and her father were both born in Palermo, Sicily. Her mother came over when she was about 5-6 years old. Her dad was 19. They both came through New York and then Chicago, where they met, married, and homesteaded out in Nebraska. So yeah.
Nebraska? I know they had Italians in Nebraska.
They did. And actually, Sioux City, Iowa has a big Italian community out there. Her father, his brother, several family members all became kind of farmers in this community out there.
You know, a lot of times people say, how come you're always cooking Italian food? Don't you cook anything else? I said, well, my Italian roots, but we know how to cook Italians.
Right.
You know, and there's more Italian restaurants around the world than I think any other restaurants, you know. Tell me, how has your Italian roots affected your life, you know, your family? I mean, not just the food, but, you know, the way we grew up, family values.
That's right, family values. But, you know, food was important to that because the eating was the center around every activity. I'll never forget my grandma's house. She would start in the morning to make something And then the family would just slowly start to roll in. So aunts and uncles and great aunts and uncles and cousins all across would roll in. And that's really what brought family together. And it was just a great time, and it would go on all day. Especially on the weekends. They'd start at breakfast time, and then by night it'd be going on, and then we'd start playing cards and some other things.
Of course, we did. We had a few arguments here and there. The dishes got thrown across the table. That's what the table is all about.
Right.
That's what food does. It brings people together. It was a reason to get together, to get to know each other, spend quality time with one another, and share life's experiences with one another.
I think so too. It was such a great time of bonding as a family, and it brings back so many fond memories and that root. And I've tried to do that with my family. I think the meal is so important, and I also think time in the kitchen together is so important.
Exactly. Connects us with our loved ones who have gone on to you. Any specific items or foods or recipes that really you remember as a kid that really you love today?
Well, my grandma, she grew up with a Sicilian mom and family, so she learned a lot of traditional recipes, but she also grew up in the Midwest. And so she learned a lot of Midwest comfort foods as well. And sometimes she would blend those.
That's what a chef does. That's what our grandmothers did.
And pasta and fried chicken, just a lot of that. But the real fond memories, my grandma made everything from scratch. As a kid, she had this noodle maker. It was the old cast iron one with the crank. I remember it's at the table for hours, this table covered with flour and pressing out and pulling out dough.
It was like playing with Play-Doh, right?
It was so much fun to be with her.
The thing is, we like to eat, and the table brings us together. I'm going to make a recipe here. I'm sure you had as a Sicilian, arancini, which is the Sicilian rice balls. So I hope they meet up to your expectations. I'm sure you've had it many times growing up.
I'll have a little bit of my grandma's taste buds going there.
Don't go away. I'm going to put Troy to work. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Breaking Bread. I'm with Troy Miller from NRB Television, and today we're going to be making Sicilian rice balls. I made my rice, arborio rice, because it's a little more starchy than other rices. I also cooked it with chicken broth, much more flavor. I'm going to put in here some parsley, some basil. Now the rice you can make a day ahead of time, some Parmesan cheese. It's going to mix this all together, and by making it a day ahead of time, it makes it a little easier to form the rice balls. Just mix that all together. Now what I have here, I made a little meat sauce. What I did, I sauteed some garlic, some beef. I then put in some peas, some onions, and I put a little red wine in here. And I just sauteed that. And now what we're going to do is, once we have the rice all made, we take a little bit and you kind of put it in the palm of your hand and you flatten it out, because we're going to put this meat mixture right in the middle, okay? And then what we do is we fold this over, and if you need a little bit more rice, you put a little bit more rice on top. And you kind of make it like a meatball. Now some people make them round, some people make them like almost like oval shape. I like the round, traditional. Then what we do is we put in a little flour, the standard breading procedure, which is basically flour. You dust off the excess flour. Then you put in an egg, and you be careful, don't put your fingers in there. And then drain out the egg, put it in here, and you have your rice ball. You shake it again. Now, some people like to double dip. Creates a little firmer crust on there.
Crust on the side, yeah.
So do it one more time. The second time you don't have to do as much as you do the first time. Back in the egg. Okay, let it drain.
And breadcrumbs here? Is that?
This is breadcrumbs. I'm sorry I didn't say that. But it's breadcrumbs, and it's not seasoned, plain. We have enough flavor inside. And we'll just put our rice balls here. You want to try to make one?
Sure.
We'll switch here. I think you've done this before.
Just a few times. And my grandma would say, get mad at me because I had big hands. She said, don't make them that big. Little meat, right?
A little meat sauce with the peas and the onions, a little garlic.
Move it around here. Get a little more rice on the top.
You got it.
There we go.
That looks good. Cover that up.
Close that up.
All right.
All right. into our flour.
All right.
Let's give it a nice little roll.
You're a nice Italian boy. You grew up, your grandmother taught you well. Okay.
Okay.
Dust off that flour.
Dust off that flour. Our kitchen had flour everywhere, right? Everywhere. All right. And the egg, don't touch.
Right. All right.
Let's pick that up.
That looks good. Put that in the bread.
Whoops, we've got to shake it off.
Yeah, you forgot to shake it off. That's okay.
Yeah, we knew we wouldn't
You
get
stick
it.
in my kitchen. I'll teach you well.
We knew we wouldn't get it just totally perfect.
All right.
And we'll keep this one a little more mild. How's that?
Okay, that's good. But why don't you shape it a little bit more?
Yeah. See
Shape
how
it
big?
up a
See
little
how
bit.
big that is?
Yeah.
See that? That's those big hands. I'm sorry. That's that big farm boy hands there.
That's why the same person has to make the rice balls each time. Now I have to say, mine look a little bit nicer than yours, but I mean, you've been out of the kitchen for a while. I'll let it go. But now tell me, any special projects that NRB Television is working on?
I'm running 2 different organizations, and the association deals with a lot of cultural issues today and issues that are addressing anybody who wants to be Christians, who want to be into media and want to be in the media sector and want to be able to continue to communicate. So, your show, to be able to just get out there and as a Christian be able to talk about your message, not only cooking, but a message of faith as well. So we're working very hard in Washington, D.C. to make sure that the laws that come through and the regulatory environment is a fair environment.
What are the most important issues you think right now that Christians have to get out there?
Policies that hold families together and don't tear families apart. And so we have to do as the church, we're responsible to speak truth and protect those among us.
That's the key, protect. I believe God created every single human being. Every single human being has to be respected, and we have to accept every single human being for who they are. Every ethnic group, everyone should be respected.
The basic human right is that we were all created in the image of God.
Right.
Humanity stands different from the rest of God's creation. And as Christians, then we are called to speak the truth in love and not in hate. None of us want to see anybody spend eternity in hell. We want to see them spend eternity in God's presence, in the presence of God. So we speak the truth, but it's from a deep, deep love of people that we speak that truth. It's not from hate, it's not from envy, it's not from greed. It's the fact that we love people, and we love them not just in this temporary life, we love them into eternity.
Normally I don't like to get too political on our show, but what you do, you have to really, in a sense, try to promote the Christian faith, and you have to be a little political at times. We're gonna fry up these rice balls and you let me know how they taste. Don't go away, we'll be right back, and we're gonna try some of my Sicilian rice balls.
I'm like my grandmother. I love to make a lot of different pastas, lots of different lasagnas. We've made raviolis together, but my kids kind of call me the leftover chef because I like to take leftovers, do something different with them, and the family's like, hey, didn't we just have this last week? And I'm like, no, and they're like, oh, okay.
Welcome back to Breaking Bread. I'm here with Troy Miller from NRB Television. We have our finished rice balls, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about NRB. So first, Troy, let's try these rice balls. You gotta let me know how they taste. You get one, you get one. Wow, look at that.
Oh,
look at
that looks wonderful.
Now, of course, rice ball, I like to eat with my fingers, but we're on television, so we have to. We were at the same time.
Okay, I can tell you that Grandma Veruso would approve.
That's all I need.
Yep. Oh, man.
When the grandmothers approve, it's good.
Oh, you guys are missing out.
Speaking about grandmothers, you have children?
Right when they take a bite.
I know, you can't resist, I know.
I have 4 children.
Four
Children, all adopted. God has
adopted.
blessed us with 4 wonderful adopted children. I have 2 boys that were born in South Korea, and I have a daughter who was born in China, and a daughter from India.
Wow.
So, yeah,
what a mosaic.
little bit of mosaic, little UN flag at our house, and it's a lot of fun.
You know, we talk about children and we talk about the table. That's where everyone came together. I think raising children today, the table is missing.
Yeah.
You know, you hear of all these things that have gone on in our world, especially these young kids that go astray. Where are the parents?
Yep.
You know, didn't they see what was going on with their children? I mean, you sit down at a table, you see if a child is upset, you see if a child is depressed, but there was nothing. It's a time for the children to learn from their parents. You know, the way they interact with the things they say. You know, that's a learning experience. It's a time when you really get to know one another.
That's right. You know, the table is that time where you as parents, as you said, you get to know your kids. And when you know your kids, you can look, as you said, and see there must be something wrong here. Tell me what's wrong, or tell me what's going on, or just time to have fun and laugh, tell a few jokes, find out what went on during the day. But it's also a time for us to really transfer and show our kids our own values. You know, it was always so important for us to get together at the table and first of all give thanks, right? To give thanks for all of what God has provided for us, the food that's there, our family, for health. And that really carries on today with our kids. You see that now when they go out, and I see it with my daughters, like when they're looking at young men now, they're like, are these young men respectful to their parents? Are they respectful to the life that they grew up? And so that is so important.
And do they have the same values?
And do they have the same values? And as you said, kids have so many distractions today. It's so sad to go into the restaurants, even just to the tables at the restaurants, and you look across and you see a kid here on a device and a kid here on a device, and mom and dad are on device. Nobody's talking, nobody's communicating.
That's so true.
And it's affected us as a culture today. We need to get back to that.
Today everyone's looking at recipes. We got to follow the recipe. Growing up in an Italian household, I would call my mother, Mom, I have a couple of people coming over for dinner, like in an hour. She'd open up the refrigerator, whatever was there, she'd put together.
Right.
And I think I inherited that, you know, to use what you have and to prepare a great meal. I'm sure you have experienced the same thing.
I have, and also I grew up in a very poor home, in a very poor environment.
Me too.
And on a farm, you're used to using everything on the farm. You don't, nothing goes to waste. And so that carried on. And when my kids were younger, we would cook at home, and then you'd put leftovers in the fridge. And we always had Thursday was leftover night. Right. And my kids got excited about it because I didn't just take the leftovers out, warm them up, heat them up, throw them on the table. I always try to do something different with these leftovers to make it look like a new meal. So my daughter coined me when she was about 9 years old, the leftover chef.
Really?
So to take them out and do something different. And it was fun, Monsignor, because when they got older, then it was my daughters in the kitchen with me going, Dad, can we try this with the potatoes or the green beans or this? Can we do this? And it was a lot of fun.
You know, I do the same thing, right? I prepare meals and people come, they joke, oh, what do we have tonight, leftovers? I said, yes, I'm a chef and I can make great things with leftovers.
That's right.
You know, that's how you could tell a true chef. And that's what our parents were, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents. They use what they had.
That's right.
You know, it's not like you can go order and then the food gets delivered and you have every ingredient in front. They didn't live that way. We didn't grow up that way. We had to use what we had. And even in life, we have to use what we have around us. I have to say, I have a cookbook that came out last year. Not that you need it, but you may find some recipes in there. And I just came out with my tomato sauce. Okay, so this is a gift to you.
Thank you for these, and I can't wait to try the sauce. But NRB's convention is in February. We'll be in Grapevine, Texas. We'll be at the Gaylord Texan. We'll be there February 24th through the 27th. It's the largest gathering of Christian communicators, people that are working in Christian media. So if you in your church or your parish or wherever you're at, you want to know how to do media better, then you need to come to NRB.
I'll be there. That's what I do, communicate. You know,
yeah, that's right.
You know, through the cooking show, through the pulpit, through my life, you communicate.
That's
and
right.
I'm sure I can pick up a lot of pointers there, and I look forward to that. And also, maybe I can help NRB get the message out as well. God has blessed you. We need people out there, especially in the media world today. So thank you, Troy.
Thank you
God
for
bless
having
you.
me today, and God bless you.
Thank you, and let me know when you cook one of the recipes. Let me know how
We'll
they
be
turned
cooking
out.
as soon as I get home.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Breaking Bread. Not only did we make Troy Sicilian dishes that he learned from his grandmother, but also we learned about NRB television, the importance of getting the Christian message out there, especially our young people. And Troy and NRB television does that. Thank you. I hope you learned a lot today, and I'll see you next time on Breaking Bread.